Working parents in Toronto are seeing a nearly 25% hike in their daycare fees, all thanks to Kathleen Wynne's latest minimum wage hike. On January 1st, Ontario raised its minimum wage, skyrocketing it to $14 an hour. And because of this, the unintended consequences for the working poor and middle-class families are starting to snowball out of control. Now, last week we heard that some Tim Hortons franchisees announced they would be cutting voluntary perks and voluntary paid breaks that they provide to their staff to cope with this increase in labor cost. Now, that outraged the left, who painted the franchisees as greedy Scrooges, even though Kathleen Wynne's government had been repeatedly warned by small business owners that layoffs and rollbacks of benefits would absolutely be some of the consequences of a minimum wage hike. That's right, the minimum wage and entry-level workers that the Ontario Liberals claimed to be helping out were the very first people hurt by their ill-conceived policies. And now, there's another unintended consequence. Toronto parents say their daycare costs have jumped up by 24% this month as a result of the minimum wage hike to $14 an hour. And Toronto parents already pay some of the most expensive daycare fees in the entire country. One Toronto family told Global News they are paying $368 more per month because of the minimum wage increase, up from $1,656 a month for 2 kids to $2,024 a month. And there are families who can afford this, and there are families who just cannot. By raising the minimum wage, the Ontario Liberals could make it too expensive to go to work for some families. Some people will choose not to work, which actually makes the minimum wage hike even more expensive for everyone else, because oftentimes these are the same people who unfortunately end up on social assistance. Or some people, well, they might have to choose between daycare and food. And what's worse is the Ontario government actually knew that this recent hike in daycare fees would happen if they hiked the minimum wage. Back in November, Ontario's Education Ministry officials announced they would be providing $12.7 million to help licensed childcare centers and home childcare agencies cover added costs caused by the minimum wage. So while this sort of seems like foresight, what it really is an admission by the Ontario government of something they said would never happen. The Ontario Liberals have repeatedly said that raising the minimum wage wouldn't hurt the working poor and that it certainly wouldn't drive up the cost of essentials for day-to-day life. The Ontario Liberals have said all along that employers would just up and absorb the cost. But if that were really the case, if the Liberals really believe that, they wouldn't have created a $12.7 million mitigation fund back in November. When Rachel Notley introduced her carbon tax in Alberta in 2016, Alberta parents, particularly those who use the YMCA daycare, had the extra heating and electricity costs pass on to them. That's how it works. So for those of you keeping track at home, thanks to the minimum wage hike in Ontario, the working poor are now losing their health benefits and have to pay more for childcare. Ronald Reagan really was right. The 9 most terrifying words in the English language remain. I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. For the Rebel.Media, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. Did you like that? That's my daily video, but there's more where that came from. I have my own weekly show here on the Rebel called The Gunn Show. To get access to my content and the rest of our premium lineup, become a Rebel subscriber today.